The Dick Corbett head football coach Marcus Freeman. Coach Freeman will begin with an opening statement. After that, we'll open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand so we can get you a microphone for your one question and up to one follow-up question. Coach Freeman.
All right. We did some really good things as a team on Saturday. As you evaluate the films, there's some things obviously that you have to clean up. I mean, it goes with every game that you play. But offensively, didn't start the way we wanted to, but I thought we did a great job of responding after the first couple drives and then picking up momentum as the game progressed. Really, as we got into the second quarter and throughout the rest of the game, they really did a good job of driving the ball, changing field position, scoring. The one turnover, it can't happen, but really did a good job picking up momentum after the first couple drives. Defensively, played really well. Did a great job in the red zone. A couple sudden change situations. Defense really played well. They had a couple schemed runs that went for more yardage than we would like, but all correctable things that we'll attack in practice. I thought overall defense did a really good job at tackling for the most part. And then special teams-wise, we punted as well as we have all year. James had a big game. I think we had around a 45-yard net, which is huge when you talk about the battlefield position. Muff punt and the bad field goal snap can be detrimental, and we have to make sure we get those things fixed with urgency. Player of the game on offense was Riley Leonard. On defense, Boubacar Traore. And special teams was Bryce Young. And scout player of the week were on offense, C.J. Carr, defense, Ben Minnick, and special teams, Xavier Southall. So a couple injury updates. Cooper Flanagan will be out this week with a left ankle injury, and Josh Burnham is still questionable as we go into this week. Jaden Mickey, had a conversation with him. He's decided to redshirt with the intentions of going into the transfer portal when it opens, and will get his degree here in the spring from Notre Dame. Saturday will be the Irish Wear Green game versus Louisville. 3-0 team playing at a really high level right now. As you watch film, they're good in all three phases. So it'll be a great challenge for our team. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
First question on your right front row, John Bryce.
Hey, Marcus, in preseason, Riley's offensive teammates, even some defensive teammates, and Coach Denbrock all talked about how unflappable he is. How much has he kind of needed that? How have you seen that? Specifically, how did you see that coming out of Saturday's game?
Yeah, I think he, as we meet and we talk, he understands what the position that he holds entails, the expectations, and he's doing a great job of handling those things. Continue to have joy with the people that sacrifice in that building with you. That's what I told him. Don't lose the joy of maybe the noise or outside things that could affect some other people. But he has been consistent, has really raised the energy and the play of those around him, and he's doing a great job.
And then I see you're actually wearing the Rally pull. I was going to ask you about that. You guys have recruited at a consensus top 10 high level, and you've become more and more evolved in NIL during your tenure here. But what's the significance of Rally? What can it do? What do you hope it does for you?
Yeah, Rally's our new NIL collective agency in-house, and was just unveiled today. And it's great because it works as an agency for our student athletes, and it's going to be a great way for as college athletics continue to change. It puts our student athletes at a great advantage in terms of being able to capitalize off their NIL, and so it gives our fans an opportunities to engage and reach out to our players, our student athletes directly, and I think it's going to be something very beneficial for our athletic department.
Third row on your left, Pete Byrne.
Hey, Marcus. As you game plan for Louisville and take a look at what they've done so far this year, I'm curious if you've noticed anything that looked familiar from when you saw them a year ago that may have been problematic, and what some of those areas are that kind of have your concern.
Yeah, I think they were defensively an aggressive attacking are going to challenge you to, stop the run, right? That's something that they take a lot of pride in doing, and try to make you throw the ball over top. They give you some different looks, and those are things that they did to us last year. Offensively, I think they take a lot of pride in running the ball. And what you do when you're able to run the ball is create some opportunities to throw explosive plays down the field, and that's something you've seen from their offense. And special teams are aggressive. They're aggressive punt block unit, and they're sound in their other units. So a lot of similarities to who they were last year. It's a good football team, well coached, and as I said, it'll be a great challenge.
Emotionally, do you remind you guys of last year? I know they remember, but like, how can you use that to your advantage?
I think as you think back to last year, it's not going to be a lack of motivation. They'll be motivated. I think it's an opportunity for guys that weren't in this program last year to be able to reflect and understand that, hey, we lost to this team last year, but there's a lot of great learning opportunities from that game. And that's what I'm going to preach to our team, is that I'm not revisiting last year to motivate you. I'm revisiting last year to learn from those things that we have to learn from that game presented. It's a lot like therapy. Sometimes you got to revisit those dark places, to kind of get out of it what you need to. And so we're definitely going to revisit last year, but my intentions are to make sure we gain the wisdom and the learning opportunities that the film of last year will truly tell us.
Front row on your right, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to follow up on your announcement about Jaden Mickey to the point of how does this change Leonard Moore's role for you going forward? Does it change how you use Hobbs? Is there anybody you can help with depth at that position?
Yeah, it will increase Leonard Moore's role. It will increase Carson Hobbs' role, and that's why you got to continue to have depth. And so those two guys are definitely capable of getting the job done. And I still feel strongly about the depth of the quarterbacks room. Rod Hurd has played corner before. Jordan Clark has played corner. So, if injuries occur in the future, we have plans, but I think the depth in that room right now just gives an opportunity for those younger guys to play some more.
And then shifting over to the offensive line from an outside evaluation service, Rocco and Coogan had their best career games since they've been at Notre Dame. I'm wondering collectively and individually if you can comment on those two, and then how you feel like the whole offensive line is progressing at this point.
Yeah, I think to start the game, there's a communication and gelling that it takes being out there to really to happen. But I think as you look at the overall performance of that game, those two in particular played really well. I think the entire offensive line played well. I don't know if it's their highest grade. I got to look at previously how high their grades were, but I know those two in particular played really well. I think the whole offensive line unit, for the most part, played an extremely good game.
Up the aisle on your left, Sean Stiers.
Hey, Marcus. You talked a lot about Riley, obviously, after the game the other night, and he's occupied, I guess, a lot of, fan attention over the last 48 hours or so. As you sit here 4 games into the season, what gives you the most confidence in him right now?
The performance that I see, ability to rush the ball for about 150 yards, to throw it for 150 yards. I think we had almost 400, 500 total yards of offense. That gives me a lot of confidence in Riley Leonard as our quarterback. As you evaluate the film, we actually threw the ball downfield really well, probably the best we've done, but we missed some layups. And, those are the ones that I'm sure everybody's talking about, everybody sees as the layups, but, those will be corrected in practice. We've got to continue to do movement throws. But I got a lot of confidence in Riley Leonard. And, again, I don't know what the outside's saying, but I'm sure, it comes with the position. I said it after the game. I'll say there is not much difference between being the head coach and being a starting quarterback at Notre Dame. you have to be able to handle everything that comes with it, and he's doing a great job at doing that.
Well, the deep shots, I mean, obviously he hit one to Bo, and then just, the pass interference negated what could have been another one very early in the game. Like, when you look at both things like that as well as, maybe some of the things that he's missing on Saturdays, like, what are you seeing Monday through Thursday, during the week from him?
Yeah, he's been doing a good job practice. He's been practicing well at all the different things we're asking him to do. As I said, there's things you do well in practice, and you got to make sure that we call the things you do well in the game. But again, his performance, I'm really proud of him. He was a player of the game for our offense in terms of what he did. Like, if you would have told me before the game, Riley was going to run for 150, throw for 150, and lead this offense the way he did, I'll be pleased. And so I think he did a good job of being the quarterback for our offense. And there's always room to grow. Like, we're never satisfied. We're greedy people. And so I know there's a couple plays that he wish he could redo. And guess what? We'll have the opportunity to redo it on Saturday.
Third row on your right, Tim Priester.
You mentioned the red zone defense, which was huge. Could have been a different game had you guys not been stout down there. And you're, I think, tied for 7th in the country in touchdown percentage. You were great last year. Were there some schematic changes after the first year when you struggled with it with Coach Golden, or is it just getting accustomed to what you're doing and just getting better at it?
Yeah, it was both. It's both. I often say the delayed gratification is patience plus strategy, right? It's not just patience. We just can't keep doing the same thing and expect it's going to get better over time. That's what I call waiting, and so there's a strategy that we had to make some schematic tweaks to, but also you had to be committed to the things you felt were sound. And I think that's what you're seeing right now in our red zone defense. There's a belief and a mindset that put the ball down. We're right where we want to be. I hear Coach Gordon say it all the time, man. Put the ball down. We're exactly where we want to be. And that might be on the 5-yard line. And it's a mentality that our defense has, and you showed it out there on Saturday.
Number 9 on defense for Louisville's a pretty good player, Gelati, and you faced a great pass rusher in the first game in Scorton. Similarities, comparisons, what makes Gelati as good as he is?
I think they use Gelati in a different way than A&M use Scorton. Yes, I know he mainly lines up at the end, but they can move him inside and do some different things with him to try to create a mismatch. And so we have to be prepared for that. Where are they going to put him to try to create a mismatch on third down and passing situations? And so we have to be aware of him at all times. He is a dynamic player, a dynamic pass rusher that can, if you don't know where he's at and have a plan for him, he can make it a long day for your offense.
On your left, up the middle, Michael Ferreira.
Right here in the center, Coach. Michael Farrar here with Berg Sports Network. Your captains on your defense have came up big for you this year. What, from a coaching perspective, what's been the most exciting thing to see those guys in their leadership roles, teaching the young guys how to play defense here at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think as we voted for captains, I told them there's certain expectations that we have of our captains, and those guys met those expectations head on and wanted the challenge. And not only are they playing at a high level, they're practicing at a high level. They're teaching young guys how to prepare the right way, and they're a confident group. And so they've been everything I expected them to be as a football player, but also as a captain and leader.
And then my final question, you guys are going to be wearing the green jerseys on Saturday. Historically, Joe Montana's wore them, Brady Quinn has wore them, so many more great players. What's exciting to see these new guys keep on that tradition of Notre Dame wearing the green jerseys?
I meet with the captains about I meet with them at 2:00 today, and so I'm going to let them make the decision on if they want to wear the green jersey or not. I know it's an Irish wear green, but I like to leave that into the hands of our captains. So if they want to wear the green jerseys, then we'll wear the green jerseys on Saturday.
On your right, third row, Tim O'Malley.
Coach, at the risk of being kind of too broad on this one, where your wide receivers taking steps forward too in the last 2 games, certainly. Where do you need to see them improve even more going into this Louisville game, where they get a guy like Quincy Riley had a really good game against Notre Dame last year? They have a quality secondary. What do you need to see out of that group, that 60 to make them better going in the next 4 games than the first 4?
Yeah, so much of their production is based off of, if they get the ball to them, they had some pass interferences, that they created. I think the one challenge that we've said in our meetings with Coach Brown, and he voiced this, is that we got to continue to win the 50-50 balls. And we won a couple of them in the game Saturday, made some big plays, but there was a couple that we didn't win. And that's the challenge for those guys, is when the opportunity presents itself, we got to make sure we're winning. And then that's all they can control, right, is you can run your route perfectly and be wide open, but if the play call doesn't dictate to throw you the ball, or the quarterback makes another decision, then nobody really talks about it. But as we evaluate the film, man, our wideouts are playing at a high level. They're doing a much better job in terms of blocking on the perimeter. Stats are stats. And what I'm looking for is wins. Obviously we want to have positive production on our offense, and we're doing that. But it's hard sometimes when I'm sure you want the stats to kind of back that up as a wide receiver, but they're an unselfish group. Credit to Coach Brown and the job he's done with them to continue to put team glory in front of anything else. And they just keep working and keep doing what they're doing. They're going to get the stats to back it up.
With Flanagan out, what do you need from Eli Raridan? This is his first healthy season. Mitchell Evans is back. What do you really need from Raridan now going forward? He's gotten his feet wet after 4 games.
Yeah, he is. He's improving, constantly improving. He's really working at the techniques and the fundamentals in the run game, at blocking the angles. But I've seen a tremendous amount of growth from week 1 to week 4 in him, and he'll have a even bigger load on him this week. So I expect him to perform at a high level. But he's been constantly improving.
Second row on your left, Tyler James.
Marcus, I wanted to see what your evaluation of Emil Wagner has been this season, and then he got on top of a loose ball in the end zone that wasn't called a fumble by Jeremiah Love, but I'm curious if that's something you guys... I don't think they called it a fumble, but at least in the scorebook, the last I checked, it was still...
No. Okay.
Is that a play you guys point out in film of like a hustle effort and make sure that's something that's happening?
Absolutely, man. That play does not go unnoticed by our program, by our coaches, and it was a couple of them down there. But to finish through the whistle, like there might have been some guys that didn't play through the whistle like he did on that play. But we're definitely going to point that out. That effort, that unselfishness, the ability to just play through the whistle is something we pride ourselves on. He's been playing really well. He's doing a really good job, and man, he's working, and I'm glad we got him on our team.
And in a number of different ways, you have talked about relying on the strengths of your players, whether it comes to Riley Leonard and the plays you guys are calling for him, whether it's playing man defense a lot because that's what your cornerbacks are good at. Is that a philosophy that has evolved as you've become more experienced as a head coach, or is that something you felt strongly about when you became a head coach?
I think that's something I've learned throughout coaching with some of my mentors, with teams that I've been on, is at the end of the day, as smart as we try to be as coaches, it's really hard to just outsmart the opponent, right? Everybody works hard. Everybody game plans. But at the end of the day, you got to recruit at a high level, and then you got to get your best players to play at a high level. Like, that's the challenge. How do we get our best players to play their best? And if you can do that, then they win those one-on-one battles, right? Football, at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to one-on-one battles. A block on the perimeter, an inside block, a 50-50 throw and catch. And so what we got to do is make sure that we are getting our guys to win those one-on-one battles and to play fast, right? And I believe a team that plays fast has clarity. And that means, hey, let's do what they do well. There's no question on what they got to do, and so they can play with velocity. And that's just kind of been my formula and things that I believe in deeply.
On your right, front row, Pete Sampson.
Marcus, obviously the pass to Bo was significant for Riley, but I was interested if, like, throwing a 50-50 ball to Mitch down the seam or, like, trying to put the ball in the end zone to Jaden Harrison, if that might be as significant because it shows, like, I trust you to go make a play, which is, I think, even Denbrock preseason said that was something that really needed to pick up.
Yeah, 100%. It's I think there was one more. It was maybe the Faison, the big post. I can't remember. It was Faison or Chris Mitchell that was that got called for passing. Like those are confidence boosters for coaches, for players, and there's a strong. I hope Riley feels that belief that we have in him to throw the ball down the field. And so I know we all want to catch, but those PIs are huge for our offense to continue to move the chains. And listen, if teams have to account for him to run the ball. Right, coming from a defensive side, like you have to say, okay, we got to get an extra hat in the box in case he runs the ball. We're outnumbered. So if teams are going to do that, we have to have the ability to throw it over top.
And as a former linebacker, I was interested if you could sort of explain why Riley is so hard to tackle. Because I think C.J. Carr, in one of your in-house things, was like, you're so slow when you're running, but nobody catches you. Could you sort of explain what makes him hard to deal with?
I mean, he's 6'3", 215 plus, and runs probably a 4.5. You might look at Riley and say, "Oh, how well does he run?" He can roll, and we saw that in practice. And a couple of our guys on defense were lucky he was in a red jersey, and I would call him down. But he's strong. He's strong, and he's fast. He's not J-Love in terms of shifty, but when you're that big and strong and fast, it's a challenge to bring you down. And so, he's showing it. He's showing it to rush for 150 yards, to break away and run away from defenders is something that it's a challenge for any defense to face.
Left side, front row, Jack Sobel.
Marcus, kind of following up on Tim's question about Ashton Gelati, a lot was made in week one of 2 first-time starters and Knapp and Pendleton going up against like Scorton and Turner and Stewart. What strides have you seen those two make from week 1 to now?
Knapp and Pendleton?
Yeah.
I think the comfort, right? Napper's the first game ever. He's 18, 19 years old, first game ever starting at Notre Dame is down at Texas A&M. And, now you have 4 games under your belt and 4 weeks of constant improvement, right? Of seeing it really what an opponent's like in the game. And so those guys have really progressed. Sam's playing well. I know he's mad about the 2 false starts, as am I, but we're going to work on that. We'll attack it, and we'll make sure it doesn't happen. But they're just working at it, and they're getting better.
And then also with Flanagan out, you talked about Raritan, but I think Mitch played almost 40 snaps in this one. Like, where is he at as far as just, like, looking and moving and playing like the Mitch Levins that you saw last year?
Yeah. I think he's as good as we expect him to be. He's really playing at a high level. I know his production might not be as much as where it was last year, but he's doing some really good things. We got to continue to use him in the run game and some other things and get him to continue to progress there. But Mitch is a threat for us, and you can put him in the box. You can flex him out. He's going to be a mismatch for a lot of defenders.
Our final question opportunity right up the middle on your right, Mike Berardino.
Hey, Marcus. The exchange you had at the end of the first half with Adon, or the one-sided conversation, that's about as mad as I can remember seeing you on the field.
It was two-sided for sure.
What can you share about that? And obviously it could have been costly, but when you say things like we never blame the players, how do you choose in the moment when to do old school coaching?
It's funny. My dad texted me. I said, "Man, you kind of got into number 8." But I told my dad I don't know if they saw what happened after that, and I told him I did what I thought, probably how I was raised, right? And I was upset because we had the momentum. I had a strong feeling if we called 2 timeouts, if we were able to get the ball back, we had a great chance to go down and score before half, which would have been huge. And we pride ourselves in being a disciplined football team. Every Friday we watch clips of other teams making mistakes, and we say we got to learn from the mistakes of others. And, we have a rule around here to hand the ball to the official, and he didn't do that and was called for a personal foul. And I lost my temper a little bit, but the first thing he said was, "Yes, sir, I own it. I shouldn't have done it. My bad, it won't happen again." And when a young person, a coach, or anybody, when you own your mistakes, like, now we can fix it. If you make excuses and you say it's somebody else's fault, it's hard to fix that until you own it, and he owned it. And right after, as we were running halftime, I said, appreciate you owning it. I love you. Let's learn from it, and let's reload and get ready to come back the second half. And I love that kid. He is a great young man, and I hope I would treat my son the same way, right? And when you make a mistake sometimes that you need a reminder of a selfish action you made, it's not always going to be lovey and kind. Love sometimes is tough, right? Love is tough sometimes, and that was an example of tough love, but he owned it, and it was my job to remind him after he owned it that I love you, let's get back to work, and let's go have a great second half. So that's kind of how that whole situation would happen.
Thank you. In terms of love, you and Jaden Mickey as a group have been through a lot. I mean, he played for you on a day of grieving, and you guys have lifted him up at times. How tough is it to see him make that decision when he's still playing about the same number of snaps as the past 2 years?
Yeah.
Key on special teams. I know everybody has that goal for themselves, but just maybe take us through a little of that.
You know, I think everybody's going to have an opinion, and myself included, right? But it's not our opinion that really matters, right? Jaden Mickey made a decision that he felt was best for him. So for me to do anything other than support him, it's selfish. I'm not in his shoes, right? I don't know what's going on in his life, and this is what he said is best for him in his future. And so it would be selfish of me to have selfish thoughts and opinions about the decision he's making. I wish him best of luck. I love him. He's a great young man that's been through a lot, and will continue. He'll go and do great things, but it's not our position or anybody else's to make an opinion about what type of decision J.D. Mickey made. It's a decision that he wanted to make for him, and I support him in his next endeavors.
Coach Freeman, thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys.